Live from the Pines, your favorite East Texas sports podcast, coming at you live tonight. Tonight we welcome special guest Lufkin ISD Director of Sports Performance, Coach Jeremy Walden. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm great, man. How you doing, man?
Oh, doing great. It's a great day to be a Lufkin Panther.
I guess, yeah.
So, Coach Walden, many people don't know you, but you're from the DMV area.
Yeah.
Retired Army.
Yeah, former Army. I didn't retire.
Okay, former Army. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
How are you liking Lufkin so far?
Man, Lufkin is different from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
It's a lot smaller than what I'm used to. I'm coming from San Antonio, so even though I'm from the DMV, coming from San Antonio is also a pretty big city. So the last place I was at was there. I'm used to a major airport within 10, 15 minutes from me.
Hour and 45.
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah.
And I'm just used to being able to go to a mall and,
we got a mall. It might not be that big.
I've been to Lufkin Mall, man.
Me living here my whole life majority and being back now, I probably go on the mall once or twice a year.
I hear. That's what I hear. That's what I hear from everybody.
It's not for much. It's pretty much going to the store that sells the candles and all those things. But other than that, you won't see me at the Lufkin Mall. But we do have a mall.
No shots fired. But
no shots fired.
It's different, and it's friendly here. And that's probably the biggest thing that's been welcoming is everybody welcomes me with open arms here, and I'm not used to that, man. So I'm happy to be here.
That's that Southern hospitality.
Yeah, that's what I like it.
So, Coach Walden, before you were a Lufkin Panther, you were at Commerce Judson, and before that, you had your own business doing the same thing you're doing now. Can you go in a little bit and talk about what you do?
Yeah. What I do is kind of loaded, man. So I'm the director of sports performance now, and that's kind of evolved a little bit, right? So it started out as me being a trainer, and I would train individuals in the Army. I was a master fitness trainer. Even before that, I was a coach, and I would train athletes to get better. But I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't really know as much as I thought I knew. So I would train you and say I was getting you faster or getting you stronger, but I just kind of duplicated what I saw other people do. And then sooner or later I said, all right, I guess I need to educate myself. So after the Army, I decided to make a business out of it and run a business. And training became the thing, not just working out. So it evolved into performance training. And that's where we are now is performance training. How do I get athletes faster? How do I get athletes stronger? More importantly, how do I get athletes to move better so that they can perform better? And then the fourth component of that is how do I keep them on the field, right? And return them to the field faster. So that's
as far as being healthy.
Absolutely. So performance metrics is one thing, but also injury metrics is another thing that I love doing.
So Coach Walden, your role here at Lufkin, you're working not only with the high school kids and the football team, you're working with all programs from the middle school level all the way up.
Absolutely.
So what does your day look like right now?
Days are crazy. So I've got to work out myself first, right? So the first thing I do is get up. If I gain 30 pounds, 40 pounds, the kids will let me hear it. So I got to make sure I do the exercises and the movements that I'm asking them to do. So I work out probably around 6 o'clock. By 8 o'clock at the very latest is the first group of kids, and I'm usually in the pack by 8 o'clock. Then after that, it just depends on the day. I could be in the middle school as well, depending on what day it is with the middle school athletes, the 8th graders first thing in the morning. Then I have a break, which allows me to kind of get my brain together for the rest of the day or do planning or input data. Talk to the athletic trainers, figure out what's going to happen. What can I do to make this thing better? What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do next week? What am I going to do next month? What am I going to do during the summer? So it's a planning period. And then 4th and 5th period, I'm either at the middle school or working with the freshman football. And then 5th period, I'm with another group. So it just depends on the day. I could be with girls track early in the morning. I could be with girls basketball. I could be with volleyball. I could be at the middle school. It just depends on the day. But every day I'm with somebody.
So as far as the middle school, level kids, we're looking anywhere from, 11 to 13?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So 11 to 13-year-olds, what are you trying to get out of them? What are you trying to see out of them?
I want them to move well. So strength can always be built if you have a good foundation of movement. Conversely, if you got strength and no movement, then you're no good, right? So I want to make sure that speed is God-given. I develop speed, but I can't create speed. But I want them to move well. I want them to understand the basics of how to pick up a barbell, how to hold a barbell, how to move outside of that and translate that to the field, to the court, to whatever sport that they're playing.
So at the middle school level right now, your day to day, you're there when you can be, when your day allows you to be there. Right. Since you've been here, have you seen, improvement so far?
Can't lie to you. I've only been there such a short time with the middle schoolers. I haven't seen much improvement, but that's a testament, honestly, to the middle school coaches and what they're doing there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't really changed that much because they do an amazing job of programming. The things that I've implemented have been so small that I feel like they do a great job there, and there's not much changes to make, to be honest with you. They're super structured. The kids are motivated, and our middle school kids. So they do the best they can, and I'm pretty happy with what I saw. I'm pretty impressed with what I saw, to be honest.
Well, Brady Stovall and Joseph Bell and the rest of those guys, they do a great job, it sounds like.
Man,
and, that all translates. We talk about this a lot with, football coaches and different position coaches and coordinators and head coaches and everything on the show. And it's, everything starts at the middle school level.
Yeah.
If you want to win that, everybody's dreaming to win that state championship, but you just can't wake up and win it. Mm-hmm. You have to start building it from the time they're, a youth player to a middle school player, all the way to the high school age. But when you're in the middle school level, that is your time to buy in and, train your body and prepare yourself for the next step.
Absolutely. And that's probably one of the first things that I talked about with Coach Absey. When he brought me in, I sat in his office, and I'm not going to say like I was big bravado, but I did say, if you're not talking about winning a state championship, I don't know if you got the right guy. I did not come here to just win 10 games and get eliminated in the second round. And that is not shots fired towards anybody. I think Lufkin is a great place to be. What I do think is that I've seen the framework of teams, not just football, but volleyball, boys basketball, even baseball, a framework of teams that can win state championships. With the talent they have, I feel like the sky's the limit. So not only do we have to develop the girls, develop the boys from the middle school level, but the biggest thing I think that I provide as well is helping to change the mindset of these athletes. I think they're so complacent with the girls beating McKinney North, with the boys getting past the second round, with any of these teams just getting past the boys basketball team, getting past the first round. And I'm like, hell no. No. What about after McKinney North in the first round? What about the third round? Where's the state championship at this year? I came from San Antonio. I love to go back to San Antonio with the boys basketball team, and they put medals around our necks. And y'all need to imagine that. You need to prepare yourself for that. So we've started the brick by brick concept. We talk about the fundamentals. We're building the fundamentals of a championship team brick by brick. But why not us? So I'll get on the whole soapbox.
You're good. And that, it means, that means a lot when you say boys and girls, because this is just not for the boys. It's just not for football. It's for every program that's tied to Lufkin ISD athletics. Boys and girls. Yeah. And, like you said, working with the girls track, we have some girls that can run. Mm-hmm. And, the way to get them to the recognition level they want to be at is by training them and making them better.
Right.
You have to put the work in to become, the notable, person. Those track athletes, they don't just start training in high school and become who they are. Yeah. They start at a young age and they know the fundamentals of running. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize. It's more than just getting out there and running. There's more to getting out there and just working out. You have to stretch properly.
Yeah.
You have to recover properly. You have to do the lifts properly. You have to do all those things properly, but it has to be taught.
Oh yeah. It has to be taught. And like I said, you have to run. Who wins a race when they run that race thinking, I'm not the fastest, man, so I'm just going to do my best? I'm like, hell no. Yeah, you're going to do your best, but you're going to win. And first of all, you need to envision that. Second of all, you need to say that. Third of all, you need to prepare yourself for that. And then the fourth thing is execute, So we work on that. And that's the thing that we do when we train. So it's less hamstring development and more develop your mind to believe that you can do this. Yes, you're a girl. Yes, you're going to lift this weight. and you're going to lift it with some force. You're going to put some force into the ground so that it starts to show its dividends when it's time, when you need it, when you need to tap into that. So I really enjoy the fact that at first it was, not gonna lie, my first job coaching was girls basketball, and that was in Virginia, in the DC area. But I've really gotten accustomed and really started to like training girls, because I feel like the ability to change their mindset is like, man, the amount of improvement is leaps and bounds, man. So I'm super excited for that.
Well, I know that everybody in Lufkin is excited to hear the new role you obtained, and the things you're doing inside the program.
Mm-hmm.
So we go back to baseball and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
As a baseball player, I know when we played for Coach Cobb, we never realized how important it was to stretch, and he made it important. You were going to go through all these stretches. We did so much arm care. You did all these things that you don't think that matters. It was from throwing those little weighted balls to, all these, stretches with bands and, all the things he brought into the program for us to use. But you never realize how important those things are, because you're 15, 16 years old and you're like, how's this going to be better? Why am I not doing this instead of that? But you have to train and recover like a pro athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what those guys at the pro levels do.
Yeah. And kids have a BS meter, right? So the good thing is that I understand why I'm doing something, so that I can explain why I'm doing something, and they buy in a lot more and perform it a lot better when they understand the why. But we're huge on arm care. But people think baseball. Well, what about volleyball? They got a lot of stuff with shoulders, right? What about football? The fact that you take so much contact, you need to know how to fall. You need to have enough mobility in what you're doing to be able to sustain a fall, and that's one of the big things that we worked on here. They also had something pretty good in place for a strength program when I got here for football. There's a lot of things I've changed, but they had a great program in place. One of the things I removed was the deadlift, because we had a lot of lower back injuries and bad lateral movement. So once again, going back to things like those things that we care, I put the boys through some really uncomfortable exercises sometimes, because we got to loosen up those hips, because you got to be able to turn and run and stick with that slot.
I was at a baseball game a couple of weeks ago, and a few of the football kids stopped by to talk to us, and they're like, "He made us do freaking yoga today."
Yeah, pretty much.
He was like, "We never did yoga," and I'm like, "That's good."
I wouldn't call it yoga, but it was a whole session where they didn't touch a weight, and they worked on mobility and core stability, right? And those are things, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it sounds good, but I didn't do that when I was an athlete. I played a lot of sports, and I rarely stretched. I was like, roll out the ball, I'll do my fake little quick warm up, and I'm in there. You know what I mean? Exactly. And now I'm like, no, because I need you to move better, and I need that lower back pain to go away, and we need to do it now before spring ball, so that we can be ready, not only to be able to sustain through spring ball, but then be 100% after spring ball going into the season. So movement and mobility and things like that is totally necessary.
So as far as, we talk football now, and we talk about the guys in the trenches, your defensive lineman, your offensive lineman, your big boys.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to, help them be able to move quicker, explode, and be, powerful out of their stances and, different things that we line up in?
Getting into your stance is huge. Not only staying in your stance, but being able to get into that stance. Then being explosive out of that stance is huge. So we do a lot of exercises and movements where you have to work on your hip mobility, and then exploding from the hips. So things that include triple extension, like your cleans, your deadlift. We call it clean pull because I wanted to lighten up. So I kind of played a mind trick on them. And it's a deadlift, but it's super light. But they need to be able to get down there, right? So they get down there, explode with the weight, triple explode from the toes, shrug the shoulders. It looks like the start of a power clean, and then you drop the bar. And then, like I said, we do hang cleans. We do a lot of things with triple extension. And every day, we do a dynamic warm-up that is probably 20 minutes and probably harder than most of the things that they do during the entire workout, where we're working on lateral movement, crossing your feet, changing direction, getting low, firing out. And they will tell you that I'm super strict on them. I don't care what you do if you line up ahead of the line, because it's a false start, it's an offsides, the play doesn't count. So make sure you're behind the line, and I will make them do it over. Make sure you go past the line when you do it. Make sure you give maximum effort when you do it, because nobody's good enough to go through the warm-up and not do it right. And they've kind of understood the expectation, because I try to be consistent with it. And the coaches, they're spot on with the same thing. They're like, hey, look, you already know what the standard is. The standard is the standard. Do it right. So, man, they've been, the boys have been amazing. All the kids have been amazing. And that's probably an East Texas thing, man. They're super coachable. When I ask them to make an adjustment, it may be uncomfortable. And you'll have your onesies and twosies who, just don't believe in themselves. They can't. For the most part, man, East Texas, they call it Beast Texas for a reason, right? Where they're like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got you. I'm messed up. Yes, sir. I got you. What? And I get it when you don't hear something, when you don't understand something, ask me for clarification. I can clarify for you, but then I want you to give it 100%. Doesn't matter how you look. Just do it how I'm asking you to do it, And for the most part, I get yes, sir. And you talk about improvement, those boys have improved a lot. Right. And leaps and bounds from week 1 to week now. And even when, like I said, when I got here, I was impressed when I came for my interview with Coach Absek. I was like, man, this is the freshmen? Man, these are the middle schoolers? Man, this is the football team? Yeah. Man, all right. Well, we got something going here. We're in good shape there, So I'm excited, man.
So as far as, what you're going through now, transitioning to spring ball coming up in April, how are you going to be able to keep these guys moving, doing all their workouts and stuff as far as going along and doing football? Because, the body gets tired and you have to rest the body and you have to recover.
That's the benefit of having a strength and conditioning coach, a director of sports performance. Now, instead of, this is an old school way. I'm a lot older than you. So back in the day, the concept was, I don't care if you're tired. Who cares if you're tired? Keep going, keep going, keep going. We are now in an era where I want to know how you're feeling. I want to know where we're at. I want to know the level of work that you've done so that I can get you to 100% as fast as possible. That's sports performance. There's going to be some times where you feel like 60%. There's times where you don't feel like 20%. But my job, I don't beat my chest because you're laid out on the ground and your legs are sore and you're out of breath. I'm not excited over that. I want you to move fast. I want you to move well. I want you to jump high. I want you to, be able to be as explosive as possible. And in order to do that, based on what's going on during spring ball, what's the main thing? The main thing is playing football. So we keep the main thing. How can I get you to 100% by the next time you put on your helmet and pads, or as close to 100% as possible? So those things may include the ice tub. That's your workout for the day. Ice tub, foam rolling, mobility. We may lift, but we're lifting at minimum effort, but a sub-maximal effort at 50% of your 1 rep max, where you can smoke those weights instead of something that beats you down and makes you feel worse. So my goal is getting you back on the field so that the coaches feel like, man, they look good today. So that's kind of how I think about it.
So, your experience, you've been doing this a long time. You've been around the game a lot. How have you seen this, keep, athletes on the field, like, the hamstring injuries, the ACL injuries, all those things that we see in today's time in sports?
You have to be able to predict. That's a huge thing. Last year at Judson, we haven't done this yet, but I guarantee you it's on the horizon. We predicted, I kept stats of previous years. How many soft tissue injuries are we having, from hamstrings to non-contact ACLs to non-contact upper extremity injuries? And then based on what kind of no 2 years look the same, right? You can have literally the exact same kids the very next year, totally different issues, right? So you kind of have to just keep your finger on the pulse of the team. What do we look like? Oh, he's got a sore hamstring. And then the coach and the athletic trainers and myself have to all be on the same page, and we all got to trust each other. So I, would go with the ABSEC and say, hey man, we got 2 receivers with hamstring injuries. Can we pull back on routes and what we're doing and send them into the weight room with me, and we'll work on posterior chain and strengthening the posterior chain. And that may take 2 days where they can't practice or not practice as much. Kirkendall's another one, the OC, where I feel like we are on the same page right now. We better be on the same page with Brandon, but we will stay on the same. Me and Kirkendall sit right next to each other, man. So like they're super open-minded and progressive, where we can have a conversation that like, hey man, like let's pull back on X, Y, and Z. Their hamstrings are bothering them, and they know that the goal is he's not doing this for an ego thing. He's doing this because that's in the best interest of the kid. How can we get him back on the field as soon as possible? So paying attention to injury reports, preparing the body as well as you can. What does the off-season preparation look like? And you got to be honest with yourself. A good example is a couple of years ago at Converse Judson, we had so many upper body injuries. I'm talking so many shoulder injuries. They were all specifically shoulders. Some of them were contact we can't do anything about. But do I look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe you should do more for the upper body in the offseason. Maybe you should do more for shoulder in the offseason. So what I did was I went to a clinic, and it was a baseball clinic. And I learned so much about shoulder care, how to prepare the shoulder for activity. It had a lot to do with throwers, but more importantly, the integrity of the shoulder joint, which is a ball and socket and goes in every direction, super fragile if it goes in the wrong direction, So I implemented that the next year, 0 shoulder injuries. So now it's like, all right, this is what. So it just a year by year experience. You got to be honest with yourself and add things to your repertoire.
So, all that stuff's great, what you do, but another thing you do to benefit our kids is nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're putting, no matter how much you're beating the body down, you have to put the right nutrition in to build it back up. And, parents, it's easy for a parent to get off work and go home and, say, we're eating this.
Yeah.
And it's quick, it's fast food, more than likely, or it's something fried. And this, you've put this kid through an intense workout all day. He's broke his body down, and he goes home and eats that. And it's not better in the body.
Yeah. Ask Coach Absek about that. He'll tell you, he gets so mad. We ask the kids all the time, just random conversation. As we're getting to know them, we just ask, like, hey, man, what'd you eat today? And so you'd be so surprised at 2:30, 3:30 in the afternoon.
Chips.
Yep, chips or nothing. Or so they love Takis, man. I hate Takis. I've had them one time and I'm all the way out on them.
Yeah.
But they eat nothing or they eat nonsense. And they say, well, I don't like the school lunch. All right, man, well, make yourself a sandwich. Well, I don't have anybody at home to make a sandwich. And so, one thing that we've implemented is a nutrition aspect where we're able legally to give them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a fruit item, and a milk. Is it a lot? No, it's not a lot, but it's better than nothing, So we're supplementing. We have to let them know, what a supplement is? It goes in addition to your meal. Hey, what'd you eat today? And we're jumping on kids' asses, to be honest with you. Like, hey, man, you cannot go to a track meet without eating. You cannot go all day without eating. It's just not healthy for you. It's not good for you. And I don't know if you're motivated by muscle growth, if you're motivated by performance, if you're motivated by health, but you got to be motivated by something, And once again, they've done a good job. So if I were a parent, the biggest thing I would do, in addition to that mindset thing and talking positivity into them, is make sure that they're eating. Like, fix them what they want, fix them what they'll eat. They can carry leftovers in a Tupperware and come into the coach's office and warm it up. I wouldn't encourage too many because we need our peace from them during the day. But, they can warm up food, man. Like, they can do something, whatever it is. I'm not telling you what to eat. I can be more specific if they want me to be more specific. But right now, more calories. Think about teenage boys and how much they need to eat. And so parents sometimes can get busy. They can get overwhelmed. They can be lazy. And I say they, but I mean we all can be lazy. And what do you do when you're lazy? You go to Chick-fil-A, as opposed to putting something there. But I encourage the boys even to cook, man. Like, cook something yourself. Don't ask your mom to do it. You do it. You get home before her. But as long as they're eating and doing something, the nutrition piece contributes greatly to injuries. If you're not hydrated, if you got a dry muscle, it's going to tear, especially when you ask a lot out of it. It's going to feel fine on a normal Tuesday. And then just randomly, you're going to be susceptible to that injury. So I want parents to hopefully support these kids more because we're doing everything we can on our level.
I heard a coach say last year in college football, I forgot who it was, but it was on the lines of, kids were just saying, well, I've been drinking Gatorade, coach. And he's like, "You're drinking sugar."
Yeah.
He's like, "Where's your water at?" He's like, "I don't like water." He's like, "You got to get to like it. You got to have water."
Yeah. It's hard. We provide them water every day during workouts. I notice kids don't drink it sometimes. I just want them to understand it. I think, honestly, I think during the summer, I'm going to implement a little water check where I'm like, hey, you got to have a water source and you got to show me a water source. Whether it's $1 gallon of water that you get from the grocery store and you refill it every day, or if it's one of the fancy gallon things, I don't care what it is, but I want to see your water source. And then, maybe we'll even check it later on in the day or spot check them or something.
So they got to drink it.
Exactly. Because you can carry it, but if you start the day empty, then it doesn't matter, So
it doesn't help.
It's hard, but they got to know the why, and then they know the why, and then they have to care, and it's up to us to kind of help them,
Well, Coach Walden, is there anything else you could inform the parents on and let them know that how this is going to be so beneficial for their kids coming to the program at Lufkin ISD?
Two things, and I already spoke on both of them, right? The main thing is speaking positivity into these kids. I've heard already, not from parents, but I've heard that Lufkin can't win in girls in volleyball, right? They cannot beat McKinney North. And if they beat McKinney North, first of all, they said the goal of the season was to beat McKinney North. And I was like, and after that, you play them in the first round, right? They said, yeah. And I said, and after that, I don't know. So why aren't we thinking past the first round? I've asked boys basketball, hey, man, like, what's up? Let's win, man. Like, what's holding us back? We got a stud and some athletes on that basketball team. So I've heard about you guys before I even met you guys. Before I even came to Lufkin, I heard about you at my old school. Why not the state championship next year? You don't realize like the first round is kind of tough and this and that. And I'm like, I don't give a damn about the first round. Look at you versus looking at them. And then same thing with football. I asked the football team, how are we? Well, we're an average team. I was kind of jumping on their throat for something. And I said, what kind of team are we? I said, we're an average team. I said, bullshit. Like average is a 5-5 team. Average is a 6-4 team. A 10-2 team is not an average team. You guys laced the cleats up 12 times and you won 10 out of those 12. But everybody focuses on beating Longview. Okay, I'm not from here. I don't know nothing about it. I'm all for rivalry. I'm all for smacking Longview. However, what's past that? What's past the second round of the playoffs? What's past the third round of the playoffs? We know there's 6 games in the playoffs. Can we prepare for the 6th game? Can we prepare to play in December? Can we prepare to play in Dallas? And I think that fundamentally it starts with coaches and parents. And there's definitely no blame right now. But I want everybody to open up their mind and be optimistic and breathe life into these kids that like, man, look, the sky is the limit. And I know we've seen it and we've been disappointed before and we haven't gotten to the promised land in X amount of years. There's not a lot of state championships in Lufkin. However, there's a rich pride and there's a quality athlete and there's a community, school board, and new minds, new brains who are not accepting placing limits on this thing. So I'm super excited, but I need the parents to understand that they need to breathe life into it. Because if we breathe life to them in the school, and then they talk to their dad, and they're like, Coach said we can win a state championship. And they're like, oh, you remember that last season against McKinney North? You remember that last season, we lost to Longview. We need to beat Longview. Yeah, but like we said we can win a state championship, damn it. Like, I mean that. And Coach Absek means that. And Coach Kirkendall means that. And, Coach Taylor means that. When we say it, we mean it. So they got to breathe that into them.
I heard Coach Absek say something at a meeting a few weeks ago, and he basically said, you can talk about me all you want. Just don't do it in front of your kids.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't let your kids hear it. Because when they come to me, that loses a part of the trust I have with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of parents have to realize. Because a lot of parents are on the outside looking in. They don't know what goes in, between that 5th period and the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see all the things that are changing and, the kids are getting, adjusted to and learning. And I think, Lufkin's did a tremendous job in the past. Like you said, you just don't go 10-2 off of being an average team. You got to be a really great team, and it starts with great coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been blessed with that. And change is it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good, in certain circumstances. And these kids need to realize that you have guys that are here that are trying to push you to become the best athlete and man, woman, or possible.
Right.
And looking at where we've been in the past compared to now, the past doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
We're worried about the future.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, beat Longview. Yes, everybody in Lufkin wants to beat Longview.
Yeah.
It's great. But what about playing in December?
Mm-hmm.
What about playing in Arlington?
Mm-hmm.
What about holding a gold ball up? Let's talk about those things.
Right.
Yes, it's a hard road to get there. What's that? 16 games?
16 games.
It's a hard road. But if you're going to put the work in the off season, the summer, all the way up to August when the ball starts really rolling and meaning something,
yeah,
it's doable.
Oh yeah.
And you have to train like you're trying to get there. You can't just train to beat Longview
Mm-hmm.
or go, win a first round playoff game. That's, those are great.
Mm-hmm.
Making the playoffs is great. Winning the playoff game is great. But we need to win every playoff game.
Yeah.
We need to win the state championship game. And it's not that, okay, we haven't did it in the past, so we can't do it. Yes, we can do it. We've been able to do it. There's been years that we should have did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to blame anybody. It's just the fact that it didn't go our way.
Yeah.
But it's not the fact that we're not capable of doing those things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the parents have to realize. Yeah, you can have your negative opinions, but preach positivity to your kids.
Yeah.
Be positive with them. Let them know that, yes, I think y'all are going to win a state championship, because, when they hear mom and dad say it, they believe it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize that usually there's no reason to be, not usually, there's never really a reason to go against the coaches and what we're talking about to these kids, because we're usually echoing the same thing that they hear at home, right? When you're sloppy and you don't pay attention to detail, we jump on that. When you're down on yourself, we don't beat you up, we bring you up, we pull you up. When you think you can't do something, when you say you can't do something, we tell you the opposite, that you can if you just apply yourself. So we're parents away from being parents within our boundaries, right? And they don't realize that, your son might be down right now, but he's down because he's not doing the right thing. Or he got yelled at because he wasn't doing the right things. The same things that you've seen him do where you jumped on him, we did the same thing. And people get so upset when, the kids aren't playing, or, the kid is not the best. And they don't realize that, like, the reason why we're doing what we do is to have impact on kids, because we love the youth athletes, right? So we just love on them. And sometimes that's tough love. That's what coaching is. So be it. And I don't make any apologies for what I say or for what I do, because I never step out of bounds with how I talk to a kid. So, I said it. I told you to get better. I told you you weren't doing enough. I told you needed to do better. I told you needed to work harder. I told you that your effort wasn't good enough. And yes, you can go tell your mom, because I didn't cuss you out. I didn't hit you. I didn't call you a name. I told you could do better. But they have to work with us on the other end and say, hey, listen to your coach. I still love you. They can play good cop while we play bad cop. But whatever they do, they have to support us.
And like you just said, coaching is tough love.
Yeah.
And every kid might not play, but you play a role somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It might be special team. It might be your role in the locker room as a leader.
Yeah.
It might be your role when we line up, getting everybody lined up the correct way. Everybody has a role.
Yeah.
It might not be scoring touchdowns. It might not be making tackles or sacks or catching interceptions, but your role means something to a team, no matter what sport it is, no matter what. You play a role. I
gave him a parable the other day. I always put him. I tell him a story time at the end of training. Sometimes I do it at the beginning of training. So this story was about the window washer and the floor cleaner. And I gave him an example, and I said, hey, one guy's job is to clean the windows. The other guy's job is to clean the floors. But the guy who was supposed to wash the windows was telling, he told me, hey, man, I'm really good at doing floors. I said, well, that's not your role. You do the windows. You got to get the windows. Well, I walk away, and he decides, you know what? He doesn't realize how good I am at doing these floors. So you know what? I'm going to do this portion of the floor, and I'm going to blow his mind. And then they clean that floor as best as he can. The floor is shining. It's immaculate. And I come in, and what's not done? What am I focusing on? The fact that the windows are not done. And that's how teams can be sometimes. I want to play. I'm a quarterback. I'm the best quarterback. This kid's not a quarterback. This kid's not that good. And they think that their role is something else, when really Your role is to be supportive on the sideline. Your role is to pay attention to that huddle because you don't know that this kid might not get hurt the very next game. Your role is to be the best teammate you can do because you may be giving a look to somebody else in practice. Your goal is to be as strong as you can be and listen to what the strength coach is telling you because guess what? You may be a personal trainer. You may be a strength coach yourself when you grow up, and you may find your niche in loving the weight room. So they don't realize that their role is not always to be the star of the team. And if you miss your role, if you don't perform your role, then something glaring doesn't get done, like those dirty windows. So I don't know if it went over their head or not, but I'll keep going story time with them.
Yeah, it goes a long way with them.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Walden, we're glad to have you here in Lufkin, and thankful for all the things you're doing and the changes you're making inside of the middle school, the high school programs with both sports, girls and boys. Because like you said, the standard isn't just to win the first round. Mm-hmm. It's to win a state championship game, and it all starts in the off season, leading up to the season. And that's our goal here at Lufkin.
Yeah.
It's not to be average; it's to be the best. And that's something we did for a while, and we want to continue to do those things.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach Walden, thank you for coming on live from the Pines tonight. Thank you, everybody, that tuned in and watched the show. If you can, give us a like, follow, subscribe. Live from the Pines, YouTube, Instagram, X. We're on all of it. TikTok also. Go give us a like, subscribe. Thank you to our guys at Zilker Belts. Use discount codes PINES936 for all online orders. Thank you, Coach Walden, for coming on live from the Pines.
Thanks, man.
Have a great night.
All right, have a good one.